The teacher who wasn't supposed to be there. Back in my sophomore year of high school, we had this substitute teacher, Mr. Grayson. He was supposed to fill in for our history teacher for just a week while she was out recovering from surgery. At first, everything seemed normal. He dressed a little too sharply for a high school sub, think tailored suits and polished shoes, but we figured he was just one of those people who took their job a bit too seriously. By day 2, though, things started to feel off. He knew way too much about certain topics. We'd ask questions about random historical events, and not only would he answer them in insane detail, but he'd also drop information that wasn't even in our textbooks. Like, one girl asked about Cold War spies, and Mr. Grayson casually said, well, if you look into Operation Gladio, you'll see how NATO's covert strategies shaped modern espionage tactics. But that's not something they'd put in your curriculum. What? Then on Friday, everything hit the fan. A group of kids decided to test him by asking about something totally random, the disappearance of a local journalist back in the early 2000s. This was a big story in our town growing up, but it wasn't exactly common knowledge. Mr. Grayson paused, looked at them for a moment, and then said, that's complicated. And then he left the room. We all just sat there, staring at the door, wondering what had just happened. 10 minutes later, the principal showed up, looking flustered, and told us that class was dismissed early. When we asked about Mr. Grayson, she just said he'd been called away and wouldn't be coming back. Over the weekend, word spread that Mr. Grayson wasn't even registered in the school district system. A few kids swore they'd seen unmarked cars parked near the school that afternoon, and one of the janitors claimed that Mr. Grayson had been escorted off campus by men in suits. On Monday, our regular history teacher was back like nothing had happened. When someone asked her about the substitute, she just laughed nervously and changed the subject. Years later, I was randomly Googling Cold War spy programs for a college paper and came across a name that looked familiar, Arthur Grayson, a former intelligence analyst who went off the grid after leaving the CIA. I swear, the man in the picture looked just like our substitute teacher. Was it him? I don't know. But I'll never forget how he looked us dead in the eyes that Friday and said, that's complicated.